Welcome to my annual review of books I've read in 2024. Hello! 2024 has been a relatively good year in terms of reading. Personally, I just hit my book reads goal of 30 books this year a couple of days ago. So today I wanted to share what I've been up to, share some of my recommendations, also share some of my fails, not gonna lie, and just give my opinion on things I've been up to over the past 12 months. As a little disclaimer, I already filmed part 1 of this series back in June or July that I'm gonna link somewhere here and also down in the description book. So if you want to have a go, or if you just need more book recommendation, there is 15 more. However, today I do want to cover everything I've been reading since June or July. So there's another 15 book reviews coming your way. In terms of my reading preferences, not much has changed in the past year. I still like to either have my paperback copies, or I also enjoy reading on my Kindle. So if I don't have the book here with me, I'll insert a picture. I don't have one of these DJI microphones yet, like the other cool YouTubers, but well, that's hopefully in my books for 2025. Starting off with the first book, it's Grown Ups by Marian. It's a rather chunky but light read to kick off the list. The book follows the extended Casey family that comprises 3 brothers, their wives, girlfriends, and children. After a chaotic birthday party dinner, the book takes the readers back 6 months ago to explore events that eventually led up to the final breakdown. And except for a rather slow start for probably the first 150 pages, a very complex family tree, I did enjoy reading the book. So definitely a recommendation for a cozy weekend or a month, depending how fast you read. The next book on my list I've already passed on to a friend is Von der Kunst, das Leben leicht zu nehmen by Luise Ritter. This one is a German book, but basically it covers real life stories in essay format about the art of taking life easy or lightly. And I really enjoyed reading this book about how not to be stressed too easily, even if life doesn't go according to plan, if you get some obstacles thrown along your way. And it is already my 4th book by this author. Well done, Marie. Number 3 is People We Meet on Vacation, or You and Me on Vacation if you are based in the US. Emily Henry takes us through the years how 2 best friends named Poppy and Alex meet every summer for the past 10 years. Both characters couldn't be any more different. Poppy likes to party, she's a wild girl. Alex likes to wear khakis. To be fair, I think it's a fantastic beach read or vacation read, and I couldn't be more excited, but they recently announced that there will be a film adaptation coming out next year starring Emily Bader and Alex Blythe? I don't know. Either way, can't be more excited, and definitely a thumbs up for the book as well. I've read a lot of books about digital minimalism in the past few years. So Digital Minimalism, Choosing a Life in a Noisy World by Newport was on my list for quite a while, but sadly, I don't think it covered anything groundbreaking. In addition to that, this book was also written pre-COVID, pre-TikTok. So for me personally, I don't think this book aged too well. And that's mainly because the book doesn't really cover working from home, the constant urge nowadays to be online, scrolling on your phone 24/7. So if you want to read a book that covers these kind of topics, the way to go would be Stolen Focus. Another Emily Henry book that was published this year is A Funny Story. The novel follows librarian Daphne and Miles, who exes actually date each other. I do not want to spoil anything, but you can probably guess what happens next. So wasn't my favorite read. I think People We Meet on Vacation was a better edition. It was okay. Another physical copy I actually have here is Have You Got Anything Stronger by Imogen Edwards-Jones. We follow a year in the life of 4 best friends as they navigate careers, friendship, love, sex, money, and children. Why did they get married? Do they like your children? And does lemon in a vodka tonic count as one of your 5 a day? It was okay. Probably not worth your time. Another one that I read on my Kindle was A Good Lie by A.R. Torre. 16 have been murdered. A suspect is behind the bars. And psychiatrist Dr. Gwen Moore is an expert on killers and tasked to deliver a profile on the suspect killer. The case gets really interested when one of the murdered teenager's fathers steps in as a defense attorney to prove the suspect's innocence. It was definitely an interesting read, and I did like the page turner. Before talking about the next one, I just want to emphasize that we're all going through different seasons throughout the year, and sometimes you just need a mind-numbing book to escape your own thoughts. So we listen and we don't judge. How to Choose a Guy in 10 Days by Lila Monroe follows a stylist in desperate need for promotion, and she hopes to achieve this goal by creating a makeover to her next door neighbor, and those two get intertwined. It's probably one of my worst rated books this year, but what can you do? Probably one of my most anticipated reads for this year was Cecile Rooney's Intermezzo. I know you don't judge a book by its covers, but I do. I judge. But this cover was phenomenal for an autumn release, and you cannot convince me otherwise. The book follows two very different brothers called Evan and Peter, who are both based in Dublin. One's a very successful lawyer in his 30s, the other one is in his 20s and trying to make a living out of playing chess. In the book, the author explores themes like grief and age gap relationships. Initially, I really struggled to get into the book, especially during Peter's chapters, which just read like a non-stop fever dream. Overall, I did enjoy reading the book, so I'd say it's definitely a recommendation that maybe you want to give it a go over the holiday period. I'd really like to say I love this one, but I did not. Doppelganger, A Trip into the Mirror World is a 2023 memoir by the Canadian author Naomi Klein. She writes about when a woman who shared her first name but had radically different harmful views was getting chronically mistaken for her. It is shortlisted this year for the Women's Prize in the category of nonfiction, but sadly wasn't my cup of tea. Moving on to probably one of my favorite reads for this year, Wandering Souls by Cecile. The book follows the story of Vietnamese refugees adapting to life in the United Kingdom between the 70s and 80s. And the book specifically follows 3 siblings who are faced with the fact that they will never be able to return to their home country and how to deal with trauma, grief, and uncertainty. I did finish the entire book in one go. It was beautiful written. So if you want to give the book this year, it's also quite a short read. Definitely give that a thought. Next up, we have Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawahughi. I'm sorry for butchering the author's name. I didn't do my research. I couldn't find the book, but I picked this one up in a bookshop one day, not knowing what it is about, but I've seen the cover online a lot, so I thought, why not give it a go? But basically, the story follows a small coffee shop in Tokyo where you can travel back in time. However, you need to finish your conversation before the carefully brewed coffee gets cold. The reader is confronted with 4 visitors who are traveling back in time to receive a letter from their husband whose memory is taken by early stages of Alzheimer, to see their sister one last time, or to meet the daughter they never had the chance to. However, these journeys do not come without a risk. It's a quick read, I enjoyed it, but definitely not one of my favorites this year. Another non-fiction book that made it into my reading list this year was Chip War by Chris Miller, covering the fight for the world's most critical technology. I truly enjoyed reading this book that kicked off in the post-war decade in the US. It's a very compelling book that explains a very complicated industry in digestible fashion that includes a lot of short chapters, so it's just like an easy book that you can grab even if you only have 5 or 10 minutes to read that day. The author covers both backgrounds in the chip industry in the US and Asian countries that dominates many parts of the supply chains that is more indispensable than oil. So in my opinion, this is an absolute recommendation for everyone interested in technology, geopolitics, and the transformative potential of AI. My second to last book is Invisible Monsters by Chuck Palahnuik. It's another fantastic book covering a protagonist who is a model and appears to have everything until a sudden accident leaves her disfigured and incapable of speech. A friend of mine actually said that this novel is a brilliantly executed train wreck from the beginning to the end, and I couldn't agree more. And a final book is The Wisdom of Anxiety by Sheryl Paul. This one is probably not for everyone, but I've been reading this book for probably around the last year. In the book, Paul, who is a counselor herself, examines the deeper meaning of racing thoughts, sweaty palms, and insomnia that accompany uncertain moments in our lives. The book is both helping to understand those signals, but also what to do about it and how to create your own personally meaningful, healthy rituals that help you dealing with certain things. That would be a wrap of every book I've read in 2024, the good ones and the bad ones. Please leave your book recommendation down below because we can all benefit from more reading recommendations. I already have a few here on my nightstand that are next on my list. My TBR is always filled. Let's see what I'm gonna read in 2025. I'm not gonna set myself a completely ridiculous goal because I know we're all going through different seasons in life. Sometimes you are in a reading slump and you're not going to pick up a book in 3 months, and that's absolutely fine. I think reading is an outlet of, it is for creativity, it's to calm down, it's let your thoughts walk or play around. So that's why I'll probably keep mixing between different genres, fiction, non-fiction, some really questionable novels, maybe squeezing in a few thrillers, not sure yet. Otherwise, thank you for watching and see you soon.